Hey guys, it's me, your American English teacher, Gabby from GoNaturalEnglish.com. Today, I'm really excited to talk to you about how you can improve your English skills using Netflix series step by step, exactly what I would do with you if I were your teacher. Well, I hope you'll allow me to be your teacher today, at least in this video, and give you some really fun and useful suggestions for improving your English listening skills and your speaking skills using your favorite series. So the first thing that we have to talk about is this is not a traditional way of learning English. This is a way for you to learn English from home or from anywhere you might watch a Netflix series. It's going to feel different than using a textbook or having your English teacher tell you what to say or what to do. This is not a worksheet. Okay, so now that I've got that out of the way, I need you to be open-minded about using Netflix to improve your English listening skills and your speaking skills. Let me ask you a question. Do you know anyone who thinks that they're fluent in English just because they watch Netflix in English? Well, I'm sure we all know someone like that. And the truth is that it's easier to understand what you hear in English than to speak it. Is this true? If you've ever felt like, oh my gosh, I can understand what you're saying in English, but I just can't seem to express myself confidently, fluently, quickly. Watching Netflix is not the same as being fluent in English. What I'm going to tell you today are steps that you can take to actively watch Netflix. So no longer are we just watching the screen and listening to the words. These exercises require you to take an active role in your English learning. So you're going to need a notebook, a pen or pencil, or you could use a digital notebook like Google Docs or something like that. And I'm going to ask you to play and pause Netflix. This is not going to be just binge watching with your popcorn and your soda. No, I mean, you can have those too. Why not? But we definitely need a notebook and a pen. Okay, here we go. If you're ready to be an active learner using Netflix, then let's continue. All right. First of all, I want you to choose your favorite Netflix series, and I would like it to be a series that's in English so that we're not working with dubbed over language or subtitles in English. We want to have native English, or I should say the original language in English. It doesn't matter if they're native speakers or not. The point here is to immerse yourself in fluent real world English, not always native speakers, because there's actually more non-native speakers in the world than native English speakers. Anyway, choose a series which you will enjoy, because we want to actually enjoy ourselves and have fun learning English. Yes, it's totally possible. You can do it and become fluent. And then what we're going to do before you watch an episode, I want you to look at the preview information for this episode. And my first question for you is, what do you think is going to happen in this episode? So this is our first step. Before we even start watching the episode, I want you to hit the brakes, stop, and use your brain. You are so smart. We're going to use your brain to help you to improve your English even before we start watching. So I want you to predict, to guess, to imagine what is going to happen in this episode. In English, you're going to be writing down in one sentence. It doesn't have to be long. I think blah, blah, blah is going to happen in this episode. I think that this is going to happen, whatever it is, write it down, okay? And this is fun too, because you might be right. You might discover that you have some secret powers to predict what's going to happen in Netflix series. This could be a very valuable skill that you didn't know you had. Anyway, this is helping us to activate our brains in English before we start watching. Now it's okay to start watching. I'm going to encourage you to put the subtitles in English, especially if you are at the lower intermediate level or if you find it difficult to understand what's going on in English. If you are a more advanced English learner, then you don't need the subtitles. Watch about 10 minutes at a time. While you watch, write down new vocabulary words, phrases, phrasal verbs, or just interesting pronunciation points that you find while you're watching. You can pause the series while you write your notes, but it's important to take notes while you're watching. At the end of about 10 minutes, or when there's a natural break in the episode, I want you to summarize. This is using your brain actively. I want you to summarize in English what you have just seen, what just happened. For example, this character did that, and that character reacted in this way. Okay? So you're using your English skills to write what happened. You are producing English. This is what's going to activate your English skills so that no longer will you have so many problems hesitating to speak or to write when you need to use English. This is what's going to create fluency for you. So even if it's a little annoying or a little challenging, just take a couple of minutes or 10 minutes, however long it takes you. The time is not important here. Take your time and just write what you think happened. Now, at this point, it's really helpful if you have someone to talk to about what happened, to confirm, did you understand really what just happened in this program? If you don't have someone, then that's okay. This is also effective on your own. Self-learning is better than no learning. Okay, so let's recap. So far, you have predicted what was going to happen in the show. Then you started watching the episode or the show while writing down new vocabulary words. Then you summarized what happened in the show after a portion of the show, maybe 10 minutes or so. You don't have to be strict about that. It's simply to give your brain a break so you don't have to summarize too much information at once. Now, before you continue, I want you to again guess what's going to happen. You see, we're creating a cycle here of steps to activate your brain in English. So you're going to guess, predict, or imagine what's going to happen after you press play again. And what about those new vocabulary words and phrases that you found? Well, again, if you have a native speaker friend or a friend who knows a little more English than you, or if you have the internet, Google is a very good English speaking friend, by the way. You can search for these phrases and vocabulary words and probably figure out the meaning. And then I encourage you to re-watch that same part of the show and see if you can understand it better. If you watch this episode, at least that 10 minutes that you just watched, if you can watch it again, you can really improve your English because you'll see, now I know what those words mean and I understand what's happening. So you see, this requires a little bit of patience. You might be anxious to get to the next part of the episode, but in order to improve your English skills, we have to be a little patient. We have to use our brains actively, produce English, guess what's going to happen, and check and confirm our understanding of new vocabulary words, phrasal verbs, slang. You have the power to take control of your own learning using these steps for your own education. So you have the power. You can do this. I want to help you. Tell me in the comments, what is your favorite Netflix series? I recently made a video where I recommended certain Netflix series depending on your English level. And today we're talking about how to think in English with everyday easy activities that you can do totally for free. Thinking in English is really important because this is going to help you to think faster when you're speaking English, when you're listening to English, when you want to be part of an English conversation with native speakers. You don't have time to translate everything you hear into your native language and then translate it back to English. That's just going to slow you down. So we need to train your mind to think in English, and it's much easier than you think. Really, it's all about erasing those bad old habits that you probably got in your traditional English class. So if you took 10 years of English in high school or middle school or as an adult or in college, you probably picked up some bad habits along the way, like learning through translation. Did your teacher ever give you a list of words to translate into English? Or a list of words in English to translate into your native language? Maybe your teacher used your native language in the classroom to teach you English, and maybe 80% of your English class was actually in your native language, so you had to translate into English. Well, we are going to stop those bad habits and develop good ones starting right now. And you can do this. It's 100% possible, no matter how old you are, no matter how many years you've been studying. Really, you are capable. I know you can do this, so let's begin. It's really all about your everyday life and your everyday activities. The best way to learn English is by living it. I remember when I was in my college Spanish class and I really wanted to learn how to speak Spanish, but we had to learn through analyzing 18th century poetry with vocabulary words that no one uses in modern day conversation. And so after months and years of studying Spanish, I knew how to analyze poetry pretty well, but I couldn't have a conversation in real life. I would go down to the corner store, the bodega, where the owner was a Spanish speaker, a native Spanish speaker, and I would try to talk with him. And it was so embarrassing because all I could really say was, "Hola, ¿cómo está?" And after that, I was lost. I had no idea what he said in response. I was like a mute. I couldn't say anything. So I just said, "Gracias. Okay, bye," and ran away because I didn't know what else to do. So I don't want this to happen to you, but maybe you can relate. Maybe you've already had some kind of similar experience. You can tell me in the comments if you have. But what we need to do is take what you do every day already and just transfer that into English. And this will help you to develop your skills thinking in English. So first off, let's start small. Do you have a pet? Maybe a dog or a cat? Could you talk to your pet in English? Instead of talking to them in your native language, saying basic commands like, "Come on, let's go," or "get down," or "no," or "don't," you could do this in English. How about it? I mean, I do this with my pets, and I speak to them in English, Spanish, Portuguese, or whatever language I'm working on in the moment. Yeah, sure, they might get a little confused, but they'll learn quickly. Pets are pretty smart, especially if you use the right tone of voice. If you don't have a pet, well, you could create an imaginary pet, or you could talk to your plants. Do you have any plants? Perhaps you could plant some plants and then talk to your plant. You know, studies have shown that when you talk to your plant, it actually grows faster, better, and healthier. So this is a win-win for your plant and for your English skills. You could just have small talk with your plant. "Hey plant, how are you doing today? I hope you're feeling fine and healthy. I hope that we have a nice sunny day for you. Hey, would you like a glass of water? Here you go." All right, so this is one very basic everyday thing that you can do in English. Be creative. If you make mistakes, it doesn't matter. Really, the idea here is not to be perfect. The idea is to use English more and more in everyday situations. Next, do you have a cell phone? I bet you do. What language is it in? Is it in your native language? Well, then time to change it to English. That way, now every time you look at your phone, you'll see directions or options in English. And at first it might be a little bit confusing, but because you already probably know how to use your phone, you'll figure it out. And you'll have to, because English will be the only option. So go ahead and set your phone in English, everything in English. Also, if you have the chance to watch some TV or Netflix, do that in English. Starting off, you could use subtitles and then you could watch only in English. This will really increase your exposure to English, which is really, really important. Now, start small. So don't binge watch hours and hours of programs or Netflix series in English because that will just wear you out and kind of stress you out. It can give you an English overload. So start small. Maybe just watch half of a Netflix series in English. I mean, half of one episode, not half of a season. I know it's easy to do with some of these really great series, but start small. Maybe just 15 minutes in English is good enough for today. And again, this is to train your listening and to learn some new phrases. Now, it's really great to watch modern day TV shows and Netflix series in English and not classic literature or poetry from the year 1800, because while those are beautiful and rich, they're not really going to help you to improve your conversational English right now. You can even improve your speaking skills and pronunciation by repeating what you hear on the TV show. Just slow down. You can pause the show if you're watching it on Netflix and repeat what you just heard. Now, you might want to just do this if you're on your own. If you're watching with friends, they might think it's a little weird. Now, another thing that I love to do in languages that I'm learning is to look at recipes. I love cooking. Do you? Well, if you do, you'll enjoy looking at recipes in English, especially if you look for American recipes. It could be a win-win where you learn about the culture through food and new vocabulary by reading and creating these recipes all in English. If recipes are a little bit too involved or take too much time, you don't have time to cook, simply talk through your day. Now, if you do anything from this lesson, this is it. Talk through your day in English. You could just talk through what you're doing right now. Right now, I'm studying English. 今、英語は勉強します. Really, just talk through your day. This is what thinking in English is. We're just training ourselves to do that by speaking the thoughts aloud, and then it will happen subconsciously without you taking that action, without you really consciously thinking about it. You will start to subconsciously do it automatically. And that's what we're going for here is automatic English. Yes, this is how we do it. Just a couple more bonus ideas to help you to think in English. You can create a to-do list for each day in English. What do you need to do? Make that list on a piece of paper, or you can do it on your smartphone or on an app online. Access media in English. Read the news in English. Use social media in English. Anything that you do in your native language, I want you to think about it. You can make a list of all the things that you do in your native language each day. Maybe I didn't mention some of them, but think about how you could do, or if you could do, each one of these things in English. And before you know it, when you do these little by little, you don't have to do them all at once. Just choose one to start today, right now. You will be thinking in English. So that's it. It's totally possible. Just start and don't look back, and you will be improving your fluency in no time. And mindset is a big part of this because you have to believe that you are able to think in English. If you don't think you can do it, it's going to be very difficult to do it. So first, believe that you can think in English just like a native speaker, and then you will develop the skill much more easily. Here to help you to think in English by listening to more English. So we know that immersion is a key way to become fluent in a language. And a lot of people spend a lot of money and time traveling to places where the language they want to learn is spoken. For example, if I want to learn Spanish, I go spend a year in Spain, right? That's what I have to do, right? Well, it's a great thing to be able to do that, but you don't necessarily have to do it. And here's the crazy irony is that a lot of people, for example, a lot of American students who might go to Spain to learn Spanish, end up hanging out or spending time Mostly with other English speakers. Why do they do that? If their goal is to go to Spain to learn Spanish, well, because it's comfortable, because it's easy, and humans naturally like to do what is easy. So now, you, English learner, you may be learning English in a country where English is not the official language, or you might be in the United States where English is not the official language, but nevertheless, most people speak English in the United States. And so you'd think, wow, it should be super easy to learn English if you live here, right? Wrong. I know, because I've lived in other countries and I know you really have to force yourself. You really have to take steps and have a plan to immerse yourself in the language. It doesn't just happen. People don't just start walking up to you speaking English for no good reason. So here's how you can take the power back, control your English immersion program, whether you are in an English speaking country or not. So listen to more English. How? Listen to songs in English. Here's a few suggestions. Anything by the Beatles. Something more current would be Hello by Adele, or I'll See You Again by Wiz Khalifa, or A Shape of You by Ed Sheeran. These are all super popular songs. Maybe songs by Justin Bieber. His songs are so much fun. Anyway, listen to more English songs and listen to more spoken English, for example, radio or internet radio. You could listen to the news in English. There are stations that are specifically for English learners, like the BBC English Learning, and the Voice of America is an American program for English learners that shows you the news in English. And you can listen to programs, sitcoms like Friends, or something a little bit more scary, like I love The Walking Dead. I'm kind of addicted to it and I can't wait until it comes out soon, very soon, so soon. And movies. If you like movies, it's a great way to immerse yourself in English. Look, the key point is to do what you enjoy doing in English, to listen or watch, to listen to the materials that you enjoy and to watch the programs that you enjoy, because that's going to keep your attention. But the thing is, you don't have to always put all your attention on the English material in order to be immersed in it. You can actually put on music in the background while you're doing your work or doing your chores at home. You don't have to be 100% focused, because just being in an environment where you're hearing a lot of English can help too. So make yourself a plan and make it a habit to immerse yourself in English. Write down 5 things that you could do. Specifically, could you listen to a few songs, or could you listen to the news tomorrow in English? Well, a lot of English learners say, hey, but I don't know anyone who speaks English and I really want to listen to real conversations in real life. Well, here's a hack for that. I mean, we live in the age of Facebook, right? So if you're on Facebook, you could find some friends who speak English and see if they're doing Facebook Live videos. A lot of people do this just for fun, and a lot of businesses do it for business reasons. So you could find a page where someone does a Facebook Live video. Oh my gosh, I think I know one. It's the Go Natural English Facebook page. I occasionally do live videos there too. But seriously, you can find a lot of great conversational English just by being social online on social media. It could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, Instagram videos. There's a lot of places to make contact with real everyday spoken English, and you don't even have to know anyone personally who speaks English. So take these steps today. Write down a few things that you could do to immerse yourself in English no matter where you are, to listen to more English. And let me know in the comments what you want to do starting now to immerse yourself in more English. Today, I want to share with you some tips for using a monolingual dictionary in English. That means English to English, not English to Spanish, English to Portuguese, English to Arabic, English to Turkish, or whatever your native language may be. This is the Universal English Dictionary. Monolingual means one language, English to English. So it's very important that you start using a monolingual dictionary and you throw out your bilingual dictionary, because we need to develop your thinking skills in English. Why? Because when you're always translating from English to your native language, from your native language back into English, it takes a long time. So if you're participating in a conversation in English or trying to participate, you can't just be like, hey guys, wait, can you just stop? Well, I check my dictionary because I'm not sure what you said. So everybody just stop talking because I need to translate this real quick. Okay, got it. Now let me translate my thoughts from my native language back into English. Okay, guys, I'm ready to actually respond now. It doesn't work like that, especially in fast conversations, maybe in a meeting or like a high-powered business situation. You need to be ready to respond. And in order to respond, you first have to understand. So we need to get your thinking skills going in English fast. The best way to do that, or one of the best ways, is to use a monolingual dictionary. Now, some people say, but Gabby, it doesn't work. When I look up a word in a monolingual dictionary, it just gives me more words that I don't know. So I still don't understand the word that I looked up. And now I feel even more confused because all the other words are new and I'm confused. And now I feel really dumb and bad. And why did I even try? Guys, relax. It's gonna happen. Do you remember the last time in your language, in your native language, that you didn't know what a word meant? I'll give you an example in English. Okay, I learned a new word the other day, amortization. What does it mean? Well, I kind of sort of thought I knew what it meant, but I looked it up. And even after I looked it up in an English dictionary, I did something else. I looked for examples of how it is used on websites. And I did something else. I looked for images through Google Images. So I Googled this word and then I looked at pictures to see how it was visually described. And this is an awesome way for you to clarify any doubts about a new word, is use Google Images and also look at how the word is used in context on other websites so that you have a variety of diverse and numerous sources of information, not only your one monolingual dictionary, but now you have the whole internet. Oh my gosh, the internet's pretty awesome. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a great place to find out more information about words and meanings of things. You can learn anything on the internet, even English, okay? So use all of the tools out there and don't give up if you don't succeed right away. You have to try and try again. If you don't get the meaning right away, just breathe and keep looking for information, or, just let it go, because it actually takes several reoccurrences of the word, several times, to learn a word by heart, to really understand the meaning and to remember that word. So it's okay. It's okay if at first you really don't quite understand the meaning of the word and you can't remember it at all. So just relax and keep going with English. Keep reading, keep listening, and maybe make a note of those words that you'd like to look up, that you'd like to learn more about. And trust me, with this positive attitude and not giving up, of just keeping going day after day, you're going to improve quickly. You're already improving. You're watching Go Natural English. You're doing the right thing. Now, you've been asking me a lot about how to think in English, how to grow your vocabulary in English, and how to perfect your accent in English to be a more confident, fluent English speaker. And I'm here to help you. So we're going to talk about how to do those things in a fun way. The way that I did this in Spanish, Portuguese, and other languages that I've been learning, the number one way that I personally enjoy, and everyone's different, maybe this won't be for you, but I'm going to share the number one way that worked for me and give you some examples. All right, so if that sounds good, then keep watching. When I was learning Spanish, I had a job waiting tables in a restaurant, and I wanted to be able to practice my Spanish while I was working, but there was actually no one to talk to. I was waiting tables all by myself, but I would have to clean the tables and set the tables. And while I was doing that, what I would do to practice Spanish is to sing one of my favorite songs. So I learned several songs that I personally liked, and I would just sing them to myself under my breath as I was cleaning the table. So I'd be like, Bésame, quiero sentir tus labios. And I forget the rest of the song, but something like otra vez. So, yeah, you might know that one. It's kind of a classic Spanish song, a merengue, and I would kind of like dance a little while I was, setting the tables, like quiero sentir tus labios besándome otra vez. That's it. Okay, so it came back to my mind. If you know the song, it's a really old song, so don't blame me if I didn't remember the lyrics right away. So you can do this too with English, and I don't know your taste in music. I don't know if you like dance music, if you like country, if you like hip hop, pop, whatever. You can tell me in the comments actually what kind of music you prefer to listen to. But I can tell you there's some great songs out that really cross genres and you'd probably enjoy. The lyrics are fairly clear, although in some songs it's really hard to understand the lyrics. So I'm going to recommend some songs now for you to learn in English because it's not only fun to learn the songs because you like the music, but you're going to learn new vocabulary words. When you see the lyrics, you're going to be naturally curious if you don't know a word. And song lyrics are a great way to learn new vocabulary that's current. You're going to learn more slang. You're going to learn more English the way that people really talk in everyday life. It's usually more casual, but that's important if you want to have everyday conversations with people, in the street, in a bar, or at a party or something. Now, this could be a problem if you're taking an English class. Like when I was taking a Spanish class, I was listening to a lot of merengue. And I remember I used a word in one of my papers in Spanish class that my teacher did not like. And she gave me a bad grade on that paper because she said that the word I used was not appropriate for a paper, for an essay. So if you're Dominican, you might know this word, vaina. So I said in my paper, I said something like, esa vaina no es verdad. And I don't remember even what the essay was about, but my teacher circled it. She said, vaina is not an appropriate word for an essay. But I love the word because people actually use that word all the time. Am I right? Dominicans, if you're watching, comment, tell me I'm right. I need some validation because vaina is such an awesome word. I love it. So there's words like that in English that you should learn that your English teacher might not tell you because he or she might be really obsessed with proper English, which is great. If you want to speak proper English, you should know how to do that. However, you should also know how to use everyday vocabulary and how to talk with people and how to understand a common conversation. So, song lyrics are also going to help you a lot with your pronunciation because there's a rhythm, right? Music takes the rhythm of the words, or the words match the rhythm of the music, however you want to think about it. And you're going to learn the stress of words, the stress of phrases, the way that we link sounds together from word to word, from phrase to phrase. And this is something that your textbook may not be teaching you. So, also, the tune, the music itself helps us to remember everything together, the vocabulary, the pronunciation, everything in that tune is going to help trigger your memory and help you to remember it. Because when we connect sounds, music to other things that we're learning, it does help us to remember. So learning a song that you love is super helpful. I would recommend Hello by Adele, anything by the Beatles. Shape of You by Ed Sheeran, and See You Again by Wiz Khalifa. These are all super popular songs that you might enjoy learning the lyrics to. So use music as your tool, as a fun way to improve your English skills. This will help you to think in English because as you work or as you do other things, you can sing to yourself, you can think the lyrics, you can sing out loud, you can, sing inside your head or actually sing under your breath or just really let it out and sing out loud, if no one else is around, right? Or maybe if there are other people around, hey, maybe if you're really good, this will be a great way to earn money too. You can put out the tip jar and you can just go with it and see what happens. Okay. Anyway, this will also help you to improve your vocabulary as you look up new words from the lyrics. Go online, just type in lyrics and the song that you want to learn, and there's lyrics for every song out there. And also, this will help your pronunciation. As I mentioned, listen carefully to the way that the singer is saying the words, singing the words, and emulate that. Even if you don't sing, if you just say the words with the same cadence, the same rhythm, you're going to improve your speaking skills. Now, if you ever tried to think in English, but the only thing that comes out is your native language or maybe another language, then this video is for you. Keep watching. Now, I want to tell you that if you love this video tip, you should totally watch my video with the top 9 ways to think in English. So you can click right up there to find that one. So how do we develop our thinking skills in English? One of the most important things you can do is to start small. Seriously, most people give up because they try to think all the time 100% in English, and when it doesn't happen, when one word slips out in your native language or in another language, they get frustrated and they just stop and they say, oh, I stink as an English language thinker and I'm just going to stop trying. No, that's the wrong answer. You guys, you have to start small so that you can build up your confidence by seeing your little successes every day. So give yourself the chance to succeed before you say, oh my gosh, this is never going to work. I give up. Let me give you some examples of how to give yourself easy wins or successes when you start small thinking in English. Now, I know how this feels. I know how frustrating it can be because when I was learning Japanese, I had already learned Spanish. So I learned Spanish first, and then I went to Japan to teach English, and I was trying to learn Japanese. And every time that I tried to think in Japanese, Spanish would come out of my mouth. It would appear first in my brain. Like I'd want to say hello, konnichiwa, but the only thing that I could think of was hola. And it was so frustrating. But here's the thing, you have to start small, and also don't get down on yourself if at first you're not thinking in English. Just say, okay, that's all right. Brain, it's okay. I forgive you. Let's work together here. We can be a great team, you and me, my brain. You have to be patient with your brain. Whatever you want it to do, like if you, for example, like a physical thing, like if you wanted to run a marathon, you can't just say, hey, legs, I want you to run a marathon. Let's go. And if you can't finish that marathon today, I'm going to be real mad at you. That's just not how it works. Your brain is a muscle, just like your legs. Just like building up your cardio, you have to build up your ability to think in English. So start small. For example, put your phone in English. Yeah, it might be a little confusing at first, but just make sure that you have a plan B and you know how to put your phone back in your native language, just in case you're not sure what all the buttons and stuff or all the functions on the screen mean in English. Okay, another thing you can do, I love to-do lists. I'm the queen of making to-do lists, writing down everything that I need to do every day, and a lot of things that I don't need to do too. You can make your to-do lists in English. So instead of, if you write down things in Spanish, or if you don't even use a to-do list, start making a to-do list. So if I'm learning Spanish, I might say, haga mi tarea, or, do my homework, or, what else might I need to do? Like go buy groceries. So, vaya al supermercado. Now, that's another thing you can do if you want to make your grocery list in English. If you need to go to the supermarket, write down the foods or the items, the products that you want to buy. So, those are really simple everyday activities that you can do in English. Another way that I like to start small is to simply describe what I'm doing in English. So, if I'm learning Spanish, for example, I would be thinking in my mind, uh, estoy haciendo un video, or maybe in Portuguese, estou gravando vídeo. So I can just literally say to myself in my mind or even out loud what I'm doing in the moment. And that really helps you to, in a very easy way, to start putting your thoughts in English. And then you can start describing what other people around you are doing. So maybe you're at work and you can see your coworker and she's on Facebook or whatever when she shouldn't be. And you could say, in English, oh, my coworker is on Facebook. Or if I'm learning Japanese, I could say, ima konojo wa Facebook nimasu. I don't know if that's correct, but if you speak Japanese, you can correct me, because the thing is, it doesn't matter right now if your thoughts are 100% perfect. The point is to start using English in small ways every day. And if it's not correct, that's okay. The most important thing is to allow yourself that space to use the language in your mind, to think even in small everyday ways, and then you can correct yourself as you learn. So it's really an evolution. You have to trust the process and that you will progress as you learn more and more. Be patient with yourself. Be okay with yourself if you make mistakes. Be patient with your brain. Say, come on, brain, we're going to practice just a little bit more today so we can build up our endurance and our skills for tomorrow to be an even more fluent, confident English speaker. It's really hot in here. Okay, the last thing that you could do, a quick example, is to leave a comment on this video in English. That's a small everyday activity, and you can write a very short phrase or a long comment, whatever you would like, whatever you feel comfortable with, but that's a great way to use your English. So I'm going to stop there, but remember, you can start thinking in English in small ways, so don't give up if you can't think 100% English all the time. Remember, it's like a marathon. You have to just start training, and if you can just run for 5 minutes a day, eventually, over time, you're going to get up to that marathon pace. Now, what I mean by that, thinking in English, if you can think in English for 30 seconds today, maybe 1 minute tomorrow, 5 minutes the day after, pretty soon, you're going to be thinking in English all the time. So you can do it. I believe in you. You are doing awesome. Here with a Go Natural English lesson to help you to stop translating everything from English into your native language in your head, in your mind, in your brain, in your noggin, and to start thinking only in English. It is possible. Believe me, no matter what level you're at right now, it's possible to think in English. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to give you 9 tips that will help you on your journey to thinking just like a native English speaker. So if this is interesting to you, then keep watching. So first of all, what's the problem with translating everything into your native language before you come up with a response in English? Well, if you're in a conversation or some situation where you need to really process information quickly and be able to respond rapidly in an appropriate, timely manner, then you really don't have time to translate. Even if you're super smart, which I know you are, and you're really good at English, which I know you are, it still takes time to process all the information you're getting in English into your native language, and then think in your native language, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to respond? And then translate that back into English. It's a lot of work for your brain to do. And no matter how awesomely intelligent you are, it's going to take too long in a native speed, kind of fast back and forth conversation. So if you are in a social situation, if you're in a meeting at work, if you are at a presentation and you want to ask questions, you really need to be able to think in English. So the problem started with the way that we learn foreign languages. This happened to me when I was learning Spanish in the classroom. How did we learn? We learned through translating. With Spanish, I learned that one is uno and two is dos. And let's see, coffee is cafe, and so on. So, of course, it's easy and it makes sense to begin this way because we know vocabulary in our native language, but it actually is hurting us once we get into conversational English, or in my case, conversational Spanish. So when I left the classroom, when I left my Spanish classroom, and I tried to have a conversation with native Spanish speakers, I was like in total shock. My jaw hit the ground because I couldn't understand anything, and I definitely couldn't respond because I was trying to just identify a few words that I could recognize, that I could hear, that I could listen to, that I could comprehend, and then translate those into English, and then think in English to translate back into Spanish. And I was a wreck. So I don't want that to happen to you. Maybe you know how that feels already. Let me give you some suggestions to get you started thinking in English. First, let's start small. Understanding everything in English and being able to respond in English is like a big meal. That's a lot of vocabulary or a lot of food to digest, right? So let's start by taking small bites and digest thoroughly. So start by doing small daily activities in English. So for example, every day I take my dog for a walk, or sometimes we go for a run. So sometimes I talk to him, usually in English, but sometimes, just to really confuse him, I talk to him in Spanish. And instead of saying, come, let's go, I'll say, ven, vámonos, right? So you could do this in English. Maybe if you have a pet, or if you don't have a pet, there's other ways too. I bet you have a phone. If you have a smartphone, you could set that in English so that every time you open up your phone, there's English vocabulary for you to work with. This is an example of an everyday activity, probably multiple times a day you're looking at your phone, that you could do in English. And maybe there's other things that you can think of too. So what are some other suggestions of small daily activities that you could do in English? Comment. Let me know what you think. Okay, next, listen to more English. This doesn't even have to take up more of your time. You can give yourself an immersive experience in English no matter where you are. Open up your laptop or your smartphone and download some podcasts in English, or listen to internet radio, or put on a video on YouTube or on Netflix in English and play it in the background while you're doing other work that doesn't require intense focus. I love doing this when I'm just doing housework or like organizing stuff around my room or my office or whatever. I will listen to music in other languages because I love learning the lyrics to songs in Spanish or in Portuguese or in other languages that I want to learn. So most recently, I was listening in Spanish to this song called Llorarás, which is a famous salsa song. I highly recommend it if you'd like to get into salsa. But anyway, let me continue with tips for thinking in English. 3, try guessing or planning what native English speakers are going to say in that next conversation or in that presentation or whatever situation that you're going to be in English. So when you predict based on your life experience what you think people are going to say, you will be more prepared and more confident. You're preparing your brain to receive that information, and you'd be surprised, probably like 8 out of 10 times you're going to be correct. Now, don't get too attached to your prediction because, of course, other people don't know that script that's going on in your head. So be prepared for something different to come out of people's mouths. But just by exploring the different options or your prediction or guess of what you think will happen, you're going to feel way more confident and you're going to be able to process that information faster and to think in English yourself because you're already thinking when you predict what's going to happen in a conversation. 4, stop learning exclusively through translation. Especially once you're out of your beginner English class, we have to learn through association, through experience, through observing, watching, listening, through touching, through your life experience. You have to associate the word with the meaning and not the English word with your native language word, okay? Words are just words, they're just letters, okay? The real true meaning is what you understand and then you can attach that to the word, okay? So book is not necessarily libro in Spanish or Portuguese. It's a thing with pieces of paper and writing that I can read and learn from. So I hope this is making sense, but you have to stop learning exclusively through translation. And next, very closely related, number 5 is to stop using a bilingual dictionary. The best use of your bilingual dictionary, where there's English and then your native language, is actually as like a coaster where you put your coffee cup on top of your table so it doesn't leave a circle on your table. That's the best use for it. Because if you continue to use this bilingual dictionary to learn vocabulary in English, you're always going to be practicing translation. So just use that thing as a coaster or whatever and use a monolingual dictionary instead. Monolingual means one language, so English to English. And you're going to exponentially expand your English language vocabulary when you do this. Next, number 6, label objects in your environment in English. You can just do this in your head. It's super simple, super fast and easy, doesn't cost anything. Or you could actually write the words on paper and tape those labels right to the objects or use sticky notes or something. And for example, if I see a book and I'm learning Spanish, then I would write on my sticky note libro. I think I said libro before, but that's actually Portuguese. I get confused between Spanish and Portuguese. I will tell you honestly, it is not always easy to learn both at the same time. So anyway, libro is book if I'm learning Spanish, maybe libro if I'm learning Portuguese. Hey, if I'm learning Arabic, it's kitab. You can help me with my pronunciation in the comments. But put a label on everyday objects. This is really especially helpful for beginners, intermediate level English learners, but it can be fun to do just to remind yourself to think in English at any level. Number 7, talk to yourself in English. When you talk to yourself out loud, it does so many good things for you. Not only are you going to practice your pronunciation, your speaking, your vocabulary, your fluency, but you are developing that thinking in English skill. So what kind of things should you say when you're talking to yourself out loud in English? And when should you do this? Well, first of all, I would suggest doing this perhaps in the privacy of your own home, maybe not around your coworkers or people that might think you've gone crazy. So what do you tell yourself? Well, you could ask yourself questions. For example, right now I'm thinking, what am I going to eat for lunch today? So if I am trying to improve my Portuguese, I might think to myself and say out loud, o que vou comer hoje para almoço? Yeah, I think that's right. If it's not, you can tell me in the comments. But it's okay if you make a mistake talking out loud to yourself. If your grammar is not perfect, if your pronunciation is not perfect, it's okay because the point is not to be perfect. The point is for you to develop that habit of thinking and speaking the language. So it's totally okay. Just make a mental note of what you're not sure about. If you are not sure if you're supposed to use like the article the or whatever it is you're not sure about, and then you could ask someone, just like I asked you in the comments. You could ask your native speaker friend, your teacher, or do some research online. Another way I really love to talk to myself out loud in languages I'm learning is to sing a song. So I mentioned earlier that I was listening to a song called Llorarás, which means you will cry. Oh, it's kind of a sad song actually, but I love to actually sing that song when I'm just, doing house chores or walking my dog. I'll just be like, yeah, sé que tú no quieres que yo a ti te quiera. So I'm not a great singer, so I'm going to stop. But just to give you an example, that is what I love doing. And I might even mix in some salsa dance moves while I'm singing. 8, just start thinking in English with a mantra or a motto or some phrase that just gets you started like on autopilot automatically. So my phrase might be, I am improving my English every day. And I would say that in English out loud to myself or just think it, okay? If I'm learning Portuguese, I might say to myself, bom dia. Cada dia estou melhorando o meu português. Yes. Okay. Like with emotion is really important. Really, really important. Even if I look crazy, it doesn't matter. It does help you and it lifts your spirits and it gives you energy to improve your language skills. Finally, number 9, our last tip to help you think in English is to just do a little bit each day. So don't force yourself to think in English all day, every day from the get-go or from the beginning. Just start with 30 seconds. I'm sure that you can think in English for 30 seconds. You could set an alarm. Maybe every day at 9 a.m. you're going to think in English for 30 seconds. So, on your phone, put an alarm for 9 a.m. and you can title it Think in English and then set your timer for 30 seconds and just think in English, no matter how simple or how silly it is. You can just say hello to yourself over and over and over for 30 seconds if that's the best you can do. I know you can do better. I know. But it's just an example that it doesn't matter how complicated your English is when you train to think in English. What does matter is that you start and that you are consistent. So do a little bit every day and you're going to be thinking in English all day long in no time. Now in this English tip, I'm going to answer a question from a Go Natural English community member, Jean. Jean told me that his biggest challenge is how to think only in English. So in this quick tip, I'm going to give you my advice. Let's talk about how to think only in English. So take a look over here. I have written down on my whiteboard. First of all, start small. You don't have to think every single thought completely in English. Start with the words that you know. For example, let's see, over here, I have a book. Do you know the word for book? Of course you do. I just said it, book, right? But if I'm trying to learn another language, for example, I'm trying to learn Portuguese, I might think to myself, I'm going to read a livro, a book, right, in Portuguese. So you can think in your native language, but then add the words that you know in English. So start small and imperfect. This is just your thoughts in your mind. Nobody else is going to hear your thoughts. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay if you think in bad grammar. Nobody's going to know. So think in the best grammar and the best vocabulary that you can. But if you know it's not perfect, it's okay. What you want to do is note what you don't know and find out. So if you know that you're thinking in bad grammar, or if you're not sure, write it down. Write down a note to yourself. Is this correct? And write down the grammar that you have a question about or the vocabulary word that you have a question about. Let's say I don't know the word for book in another language. I'll write that down. What is the word for book? How can I say book in Portuguese or in another language I'm learning? Okay. So then you find out. Now, you can find out the right way to say things in a lot of different ways. You could Ask a friend who speaks English or who's studying English with you. Ask an English teacher. Look online, Google it. Now, when I've learned other languages, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Japanese, and I love learning languages. So I'm not trying to brag, but I do love to find out how to speak other languages like a native speaker. And I have found it really difficult to find the answers online, or I just don't have a friend around who speaks the language fluently. So, what I recommend is to get online, try an online lesson, and you can ask your English teacher, how can I say this in a natural or native way? How do native speakers talk about this, whatever it is that you want to talk about? Now, here's some other ideas for thinking in English. ID, or identify objects. Oh, what's that? It's a plant, right? So think in English. Ask yourself the question in English or in your native language, but just look around you. Where are you? What environment are you in? Can you label items that you see? That's a great way to get started. And you'll find quickly which parts of your vocabulary need developing. So identify, plan. I know that we all think about what we are going to do in our minds. So ask yourself in English, what am I going to do today? What do I want to do this weekend? And make those plans in your mind in English. Make stories. Yes, I love this. So if you have some free time, maybe you're, on the bus or you're just waiting for someone, make up a little story. It could be while you're walking around. Let's say I go out to a cafe and, I see someone. I could think to myself, I wonder, what do they do? Oh, maybe he works as a banker. Maybe he has a family. So I'm thinking to myself in English. I'm creating some stories about people that I see, or I could completely make up everything in my mind. If you're a kind of creative person, that might be easy for you to do. And make up conversations. I want you to imagine that you're having the kind of conversation that you would like to have. So, imagine a person who you'd like to speak with. What do you want to say to them? Him or her or them? Would you ask them questions? Of course you would, because that's how we keep conversations interesting. Think about, what questions could you ask? What information would you share about yourself? So make up the conversation in your mind. Even imagine what the other person is going to say to you. Now, these are all great ways to think in English. And if you keep doing this, if you continue to just start small, imperfect is okay. If you identify things around you, if you make your plans in your mind, or, writing a to-do list in English, make up stories, make up conversations. And this is where you're going to grow the most. Make a note. Actually, it could be in your mind, or you could write it down, or you could enter it in your smartphone, send an email to yourself, whatever you do to stay organized with your notes. And understand and realize and just make a note of those words or the grammar points that you're not sure about how to say. Maybe there's an idiom that you think you've heard people say in English, but you're not quite sure what it is, or a slang word that you'd like to ask about. Save those notes and ask. You can ask me, you can contact me, gonaturalenglish.com/contact. But the best way, like I've mentioned a couple times already, is to go to gonaturalenglish.com/verbling. All right. Now, if you'd like to learn more from me at Go Natural English, I have an awesome new members video course that's called Fluent in 15, because there's 15-minute lessons so you can learn quickly and easily together with me and the Go Natural English community, with video and with our secret practice group online.
What I'm going to share with you today will change the way that you learn English forever. It will change your fluency and help you to become more confident in your English speaking. Now, throughout our English learning in the classroom, there is a lot of focus on what you got wrong. Did you answer correctly? Did you answer incorrectly in class, on the test? Did you pass the exam? Did you pass your class and go on to the next level? Well, this kind of thinking is not helping your fluency as much as another kind of thinking, which I'm going to introduce you to today. How to think your way to English fluency. Now, this is different than how to think in fluent English. I have a video that shows you how to do that in 9 simple techniques. I'll link to it in the description so you can watch that one as well if you're interested. But this is not simply how to think in English. This is about how to use your thinking patterns, use your own mind free to improve your English speaking fluency. And this is not taught in any classroom, but I've found it extremely helpful with my English learners and in my own life. We often focus on what we're doing wrong in English, and we think so much about how poor our English is, what mistakes we're making, why are we making these mistakes, why can't I remember vocabulary, why did I get a bad grade on my grammar test. These are thoughts that a lot of English learners have. It's the way that our education system is built to focus on what you don't know. But I'm going to suggest how to turn this around for your benefit. And it doesn't require you to buy anything or to spend any money. It's simply retraining your brain. And I'm going to share these secrets with you openly. So if you're ready to change the way you think for better fluency to benefit you, then let's keep going. Now, why would you even care about retraining the way you think? Because the way that you think about your English speaking really controls your motivation and your willpower to learn. Your discipline to learn is affected by the way you think. Which person do you think would be more likely to become fluent? The person who is always thinking, I have horrible English. My English is so bad. I do not like English. I don't like class. I'm feeling mortified and embarrassed every time I get something wrong. I feel so shy. I can't speak with natives. This is awful. I don't enjoy this at all. Whew. Or the person who is thinking, this is an adventure, and making mistakes is part of my journey. I am 100% capable of speaking English fluently, as native-like as I decide to speak it. When I make mistakes, these are simply reminders that I can improve. Every day, I am improving little by little. I love learning. I love challenges. And in fact, I love making mistakes because they help me grow and to become better each day. It's okay if I make a mistake. When a test or a teacher or even a real life conversation shows me that I made a mistake, I accept that. I'm learning. I'm patient with myself, and I ask others to be patient with me too. This is an incredible journey that I am on to English fluency. Wow, how did you feel after each of those examples? Because after I said the first example with a lot of negative thoughts, I felt really low energy. When I said the second example with some positive thinking, it's about the same students. It's the same person, but it's a different way of thinking. I felt much more motivated. I felt happy. I felt light. How did you feel? Tell me in the comments if you could feel something. If you felt happy, sad, like motivated or unmotivated. And this is what I'm trying to share with you today, is that the way you think about your English speaking and your English learning will affect how fluent you become. So you are creating your own results through your thinking. Because if you think that you are a poor English speaker, this will be your results. If you think that you are on an amazing, incredible journey to English fluency and you can do it, And every day you're getting closer, you will become fluent. You see, we create our own barriers, our own walls, our own challenges that we either decide we can overcome or we can't. And that's why so many English learners get stuck at the intermediate level, because they don't believe they can go any farther. They don't believe that they can achieve fluency. And so they resign themselves to just accept that their English will always be horrible. And the most important part of this is that when you think negative thoughts, it demotivates you and makes you want to stop doing that activity. Which activity are you most likely to want to continue to do? Something that is depressing and you feel bad about, or something that's exciting, an opportunity, and you feel good about yourself when you do it? You see, English is a journey. It is a practice. It's like any sport that you might play. You have to continually practice in order to keep your skills sharp and good. And so we have to control the way that we think about this skill so that we want to continue to do it. I hope that this makes sense so far. It's so important for us to learn how to control our thinking. And through our thinking, we can become more fluent. Fluency in English is not just about being the perfect student and getting the perfect grades, because when you go into the real life and you have to speak English with natives and non-native speakers in the real world, it's not like any written grammar test. It's not like the TOEFL, the IELTS, or any other number of tests. There's dozens of them out there. You have to be resilient. You have to deal with challenges, misunderstandings, mistakes. They will happen, and you have to expect them to happen and be ready. And not only ready, but not fearful. You have to actually look forward to these things. Oh, yay, I cannot wait until someone misunderstands me so that I can exercise my communication muscles and find out the best way to make myself understood, to clarify what I wanted to say, and to become a better communicator. So you're no longer living in fear of making a mistake, in fear of being misunderstood. It's not always your fault either. Sometimes the person with whom we're speaking has some challenge to understanding, but this is our chance to help them, to be creative, to exercise those communication muscles, as I said. I want to share very specific practical exercises you can do to change your thinking, because it's hard to just snap your fingers and instantly start thinking in a different way. Your brain is also like a muscle that we have to train. And so here are some things you can do. First, start thinking of what you can do in English. What are your skills in English? Even if you are at a low level, you still can do some things. Maybe you know a few vocabulary words. Maybe your pronunciation is getting better. Maybe there's something else that you're proud of that you can do in English. You can do some skill, some practical thing like order coffee or introduce yourself to a new friend. What can you do? And let's stop focusing so much on what you cannot do. So focus on what you can do. And I want you to each day, especially before your English class, to practice an affirmation, something positive about your English skills. For example, I am improving every day. Although I make mistakes, they are helping me to learn. I am a good English speaker. I speak English well. These are just some examples, and by saying these affirmations, you are practicing your English speaking too. So it's a 2-for-1 exercise. So we have focus on what you can do, affirmations, and visualizations. That's a mouthful. Visualizations are when you imagine in your mind that you are successfully speaking English. Imagine yourself in a situation. Maybe you're on a stage giving a presentation at a professional conference in your field. You feel confident, you're speaking with ease, and everyone is understanding you. And not only understanding you, but they're hanging on your every word. They love you speaking English. I did this kind of visualization exercise before I took the stage in Portugal and delivered a presentation in Portuguese for the first time. I had to prepare myself to step into that new opportunity, which was a challenge, but it was amazing. And by visualizing myself in that situation, I was able to do it just as I imagined with confidence. And so you can imagine yourself in English speaking situations confident, feeling at ease, and fluent in your English speaking. Okay, so we have focus on what you can do, affirmations, visualizations, and finally, I want you to focus on what you want to be able to do. So, where are you going? Because the more you focus on your mistakes and what you can't do, or what you're ashamed of, or how you're so shy, or these other excuses that many of us have, which could be true, but focusing on them, it doesn't help. What will help is focusing on where you want to go. So this is different than focusing on what you can do in the present. This is focusing on the positive things, the good things that you will be able to do in English. Not want to or would if you could, but you can't. The things that you will do shortly, very soon. What is it that you will do in English? Perhaps it's a presentation, perhaps it's an interview, perhaps it's leading a tour in English. I don't know. What do you want to be able to do in English? I want you to focus on that, what you want to be able to do. Maybe it's passing a test, and that's okay. Tests are not bad. They're just vehicles to take us where we want in life. If you want to be able to speak English fluently, do these 4 things. The focusing on what you can do, affirmations, visualizations, and your future self, what you will be able to do in English. And this will change your thinking. This will help you to stay motivated when you feel some challenge or some drawback in your English. And these will help you to be the fluent English speaker that I know you can be.
If you watch just one video about how to think in English, it should be this one. So many of you are still translating from your native language into English, and it's not helping your fluency. So whether you call them tricks, hacks, strategies, advice, or ideas, this is the video where we're going to talk about how to really think in English and some of the lesser known ways to truly be able to do that. See, the truth is that the reason why you're not thinking in English yet is because of the way you think in general. See, thinking in English to me means that you're truly fluent. You've internalized the language. What does it mean to you? Tell me in the comments what it means to be able to think in English. Here at Go Natural English, I'm going to show you how to use your mind intelligently to be able to think in English faster. So clear your mind of the things that you know in your native language, because your first reaction is to translate because you already know your native language. But instead of thinking first of all the vocabulary you already know in your language, try to clear your mind as if you were a small child learning the language for the first time. Now, there are some advantages to knowing your native language already, but to think in English, you really have to clear your mind, erase what you know, and start learning about the world through English primarily. Learn the English language through meaning, educated guesses, and not translating. For example, I was in Brazil learning Portuguese, and I went out to a nightclub, and someone asked me, "Quer dançar?" And so I made an educated guess that "quer dançar" means "do you want to dance?" Because in that situation, it made perfect sense. And I was right. And 99% of the time, you will be right if you make a similar educated guess. So try to learn through the meaning, the situation. I didn't have to pull out my dictionary to translate quer danzar into do you want to dance? Try listening to talk radio stations in English on the internet if you're not living in the United States or an English speaking country. Try listening to the radio even if you don't know what these DJs are talking about. The talk radio programs will help your ear and your brain to start thinking in English because your brain is smart. You're smart. Your brain recognizes patterns. So for fun, yesterday I was listening to a Norwegian internet radio station, and within 1 minute, I was already understanding that ja meant yes, because I could recognize the conversation patterns. One person would talk and the other would say, yeah, yeah. So I learned how to say yes in Norwegian without consulting a dictionary. So this is a very simple, basic example. But the point is that the more you immerse yourself in the English language directly without translating, your brain will start to pick up patterns because you're smart. Consuming any content in English will really help your brain to pick out the patterns in English, to really start thinking in English as if it were your native tongue. So what you want to do is actually try less. Stop translating. Stop pulling out your dictionary to check words. Simply immerse yourself in the language. Maybe find a Netflix program or Hulu or Pluto TV or whatever you use for your TV service. I prefer shorter, kind of real life programs, even reality TV shows, because those are shorter, easier to digest, and give you really conversational English to pick up on. So let your brain do its job that it naturally does, really picking apart the language and recognizing patterns, and do less. Try less, and your brain will naturally do its job. It's okay at first to use subtitles if you don't understand what's going on in English, but try to also listen to the language as you hear it. Sometimes, just to brush up on my Japanese, I love watching The Terrace House on Netflix because I get to listen to how real people are using Japanese in a conversational way. So while not all reality TV is, let's say, healthy for us to watch, it can really help you to think in English. Do you have a favorite reality TV show in English? Maybe you could suggest it in the comments here if other people want to try watching. But the key here is if you're using subtitles, make sure to still listen for what you hear and how people are using words and phrases in English, and then try to repeat and memorize some of those phrases that you could use yourself without translating. When I was invited to give my TEDx presentation in Portugal, in Portuguese, I was terrified. I had never given a presentation in another language like that in front of hundreds of Portuguese people. So I really didn't have room to mess up or for them not to understand me. So here's what I did to prepare. Of course, I practiced Portuguese, but I had a vision of myself. I envisioned the day as a very successful day. I envisioned myself speaking Portuguese fluently, giving an amazing presentation. And that's what you need to do for yourself in English, whether it's giving a presentation or having a fluent conversation, thinking in English, dreaming in English, negotiating, whatever it is that you want to do in English. Imagine yourself. I want you to envision yourself using English so powerfully, so fluently. And it's that vision that will give you confidence and motivation to continue practicing, learning, and improving until you actually reach that point. Do less. Think in terms of learning one new thing or using one new phrase in English every day. Little steps make up a journey of thousands of miles. I think Lao Tzu said that. And it's true for English fluency and thinking in English as well. So many of us get overwhelmed thinking, I'm not fluent yet. I want to be all the way over here. I want to be so fluent and I'm just not there. And it's very overwhelming because I need to learn like a million new words and phrases before I can ever be fluent or think in English. Thinking this way is harmful because you start to feel bad about yourself and you get overwhelmed and stressed out. And all of a sudden you're tired without any motivation or energy to actually practice and improve. So do less, my friends. Think in simple terms of just adding one thing to your English each day. And in fact, by watching this one video, I would say that you've done a lot to improve your English today. So thanks for watching Go Natural English and make sure to subscribe. So I'll see you then. Mwah! Bye for now.